Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Warcraft video. So, throughout the recent speculation, I've constantly seen people wonder just what N'Zoth's plan actually has been. Like, if the Black Blade can actually kill him, as Ashvane suggests, why does he give it to us? Or, you know, how does somebody who's been plotting for thousands of years get taken out so simply? Either Blizzard have cut him short and moved on, or N'Zoth is duping us, and 8-3 is all part of some grand plan. N'Zoth takes thousands of years to come up with his plans. He's a clever guy, but he's clearly not a productivity master like Thomas Frank, whose masterclass on today's sponsor Skillshare could have saved our favorite villain a few millennia of procrastination. Click my link and you will get 2 months for free of their already affordable $10 per month service. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 26,000 courses across design, business, and more. And one of those is popular YouTuber Thomas Frank's Productivity Masterclass. It's the best single course on that topic, leaving you with an actionable plan of how to tackle tomorrow. And hey, if you've also heard one of our recent slots, you'll also know how to make the perfect cup of coffee to go with your shiny new plan. So, 2 free months to learn new skills. You've got nothing to lose, a whole bunch to gain, so give him a shot, and a big thank you to them for supporting our channel. With that, let's get into the video. So we're going to kick off today's affairs with the direct BFA plotting. So, Ashvane and N'Zoth had their pact, one in which she would serve him, and that would further the goal of bringing back the Black Empire. Now, the faction split leveling meant that most players weren't aware of Ashara's pact, or at least many weren't aware of Ashara's pact with Xal. That was one that would see him undermine the Xantalari Empire and successfully destroy the final seal, unleashing G'huun. Why? Well, you know, first it would be a thorn in our side. It would also give him access to Uldir, a powerful Titan facility that's not merely a prison, it's also a research lab. Mother, of course, has been instrumental in helping us, so losing her would have been very bad indeed. G'huun also wrestled control of the dead from BOMBSHELL. Now, this would suggest that BOMBSHELL and perhaps his master have goals that run counter to N'Zoth, so that Death Realm being a bit taken over by G'huun would be good for N'Zoth. Now, there was also the corruption of Lord Stormsong that happened and all the stuff with the Tide Priests. Things get quite interesting here, as Ashvane wanted to get control of the Kultiran fleet and presumably get full control of the Shrine of Storms, of course, wherein lies a part of N'Zoth himself. And as you'll soon see, this is actually part of where Ashvane and N'Zoth's goals begin to diverge. Now, soon after, Sylvanas breaks Lady Ashvane out of jail. Ashvane was clearly working with Ashvane, though, from the very beginning. Why? Well, because in patch 8.1.5, we see a shipping record that is dated months back, likely before the war. And this shipping record is for Azerite weaponry. However, when we arrive in Nazjatar, what do we find? Azerite weapons. And that makes it very clear that the Ashvane company had been working with Ashvane from the very beginning. Now, this makes Sylvanas' reasoning for breaking her out even more clear. This seemingly is how her and Ashvane actually got in contact, unless it actually happened a little bit earlier. So that's all vital info to keep in mind, but let's get back to N'Zoth. So, in patch 8.1.5, we defeat enemy Naga, right? And we find a medallion that contains their orders, but we can't read the language, so we take it over to Collector Kojo, one of the Tortolans. Now, here's the thing. Collector Kojo just has Xal'atath lying beside him. He tells us it gives him the willies, and to bring it to a nearby altar. Just going to point out, Collector Kojo, that's really fishy. Are you you a secret agent anyway? So we get to Xal'atath, we quest with her, we stop the Naga from collecting a bunch of powerful artifacts that they wanted to collect. Now, this could be N'Zoth's first betrayal of Ashvane. She may have actually wanted those artifacts in order to summon the great storm that Xal'atath warned us of. Instead, though, we, for Xal'atath, we kill Ashvane's servants, we collect those artifacts, and we take them to the precipice of Oblivion, where we find an outgrowth of N'Zoth. Now, of course, as you may remember, this is where Xal'atath reveals that she has a pact with N'Zoth, and she offers him the artifacts. N'Zoth honors their bargain, but demands that the blade remains with him to serve his will, and this is a major part of this video. And then, of course, with that, Xal leaves and the player receives the gifts of N'Zoth. And this is where stuff gets incredibly interesting, because we then head back there in the Crucible of Storms raid, and we defeat N'Zoth's servants. Now, we succeed in defeating Unat, and the final thing that Unat says is that we are worthy. So it's clear that by defeating Unat, we have passed some sort of test. We then find the Black Empire, but the Horde champions feel compelled to deliver the Black Blade to Sylvanas. And here's where stuff gets interesting. Sylvanas then, of course, later gives it to Nathanos, and then he uses it to guide his fleet over Nazjatar so that Ashvane could use the Tidestone of Gul'Ganath to pull the oceans back and decimate our fleet. And right after you wake up, Nathanos says that he has a mission to do. He promptly leaves along with the dagger, but it's of course implied that he gave the dagger to Ashvane, because we later find out in patch 8.3 from Ashvane herself that she had planned to kill N'Zoth using the dagger, so Nathanos is obviously how she got it. Now, you might wonder here, why would N'Zoth have said that the dagger would serve him, and then let it get in the hands of somebody who obviously wants to kill him? Here's what's going on. The test that we passed in the Crucible of Storms, that test was N'Zoth working out if we could defeat Ashvane. You see, he must have known what Ashara's plan was with the Black Blade, so knowing that we could defeat Ashvane, N'Zoth gave us the Black Blade. Yeah, remember that the blade is only taken after the Horde players, pass his test and defeat Unat. Now, many people have wondered why N'Zoth would have given us this blade if Ashvane wanted to kill him with, and it's actually quite simple. He tested us, he found us worthy, and he believed that we could defeat Ashvane. Indeed, Ashara's plan was to free N'Zoth using the Heart of Azeroth through us, then to defeat us, and then to finally plunge that dagger into N'Zoth, ending him, and then, we assume, starting her campaign to rule the planet. So N'Zoth clearly knew that Ashvane wanted to kill him, but he also knew that her wanting to kill him, her plan to kill him, involved her freeing him first, so she could actually stab him. So he let her free him in order to kill him, but he knew that she would fail because of us, because we passed his test in the Crucible of Storms. So that is how the Black Blade served his desires. If Ashvane did not think she could have killed him with it, she would have not enacted a plan to save N'Zoth. N'Zoth used her plan to further his goals. So let's apply this to the future. After her defeat, N'Zoth pulls Ashvane through a void portal, clearly to Ny'alotha. Now, here she is tortured by Dark Inquisitor Xanesh, who, of course, we kill, because it's a raid boss. It's what we do to raid bosses. Now, Ashvane, seeing no other option, gives us Xal'atath. Now, even though she was captured, she somehow still has Xal'atath on her. I mean, come on. N'Zoth isn't that stupid. Surely he's not that stupid. He had her in his realm, surrounded by his minions. Surely he would have been able to get the blade from her. After all, he knew the blade was part of her plan. So we either have here a massive logic hole in Blizzard's writing, or N'Zoth still has the dagger factored into his plan. So let's move on. After the Xanesh encounter, Rathian takes the dagger, saying that he will inspect it for treachery. Now, at this stage, you've got to remember that players, Mother, and Magni are not aware that, N'Zoth planned for Sylvanas and later Ashvane to have that dagger. They don't know what I've said in this video. They likely think it was all just Ashvana's plan, and of course they then proceed to use their original plan, not the dagger, to kill N'Zoth. So overall here, the main question that we face is if N'Zoth is still using the dagger, or if he merely used it to further Ashvana's plan of, freeing him and then killing him, knowing that she would be defeated before she actually killed him. Now, here's the thing. If that dagger is still in play, then we can expect to see something major happen with it towards the end of the raid. As I covered a few days ago, right, we eventually fight our way through N'Zoth's body, we blast through the carapace, and we fight his essence. Now, in that cutscene, we seemingly just defeat him by channeling the power of the Forge of Origination through the Heart of Azeroth, but there's a few strange things, because in that cutscene, either all the players are dead, and those, Illyrian Sylvanas models using the cutscene are just placeholders, or there's actually something spooky with those characters going on, or, you're literally just, surrounded by void ghosts that look like those two characters, but you find yourself drawn towards him. Yet, in the middle of that, we just seemingly activate the heart and destroy him, right? We just Kamehameha and he's gone. Is that really how N'Zoth goes out, right? Was his plan to elaborately break free through this big web of deception, only to just play it completely straight after that and get destroyed? I mean, the whole point of N'Zoth's character, the foundation of his character, is that he manipulates and he deceives his foes, because he actually knows he's the weakest of the four main old gods. So, if we're to assume that that dagger still is a part of his plan, what are we going to see happen, Are we going to see Ashvane leap in last minute during the pre-rendered cinematic and, use it on him? Are we going to see Rathian do that? He was the last person to possess it, of course. Now, the thing is, no matter what that plan is, I think there's a problem here in believability, because the probability of one of those characters just happening to do that is pretty darn low. Being saved at the last second by somebody wielding the dagger just isn't that likely. Well, unless the dagger can do things that we don't know about. I mean, Xal'atath could return, but we don't know if she would betray N'Zoth or not, and it seems like their pact has been completed. Now, the one thing that I would add here is that the Black Blade is an artifact from the old Black Empire. Now, that means that, like, N'Zoth probably created it. And of course, we know that it stored Xal'atath, and we also know that Xal'atath very likely could have been a fifth, even weaker old god who was trapped inside it. Now, the thing is, what happens if a character tries to kill N'Zoth using the Black Blade of the Empire, but he actually just, his essence goes into it? Maybe he knows he's going to be defeated by this Heart of Azeroth plan, or maybe through the dagger he can turn that plan against us. Something like that could be possible. We just need to see the pre-rendered cinematic that obviously plays after the big Kamehameha moment to actually see what's going on. So that's the dagger side of things. Now, if the dagger is not in play and is not a part of his plan, but N'Zoth still does have a plan, what could that plan be? Well, the gift of N'Zoth was received by players in patch 8.1.5, and it's not been used by Blizzard whatsoever. And that's a bit wild. This is a key bit of information that Blizzard, went to the effort of giving us player choice with. Now, that means that they need to pay it off in-game at some point, like with the Sylvanas choice in 8.2.5 and how that got you a unique cinematic and a different ending. So, let's go back to what N'Zoth said in the past. Receive my gifts and see all truths before you. That which was sunken shall rise, all that were sleeping shall be awakened. And he also mentioned all eyes being opened. Okay, so we've not seen any truths from the gift of N'Zoth yet. I think that much is obvious. Now, most thought that the sunken line was referring to Nazjatar, but Nazjatar didn't rise. We went down to it, so I no longer think that's the case, as, by this point, N'Zoth, or by that point when he said that, N'Zoth would have known Ashara's plan. I think that likely is him talking about the Black Empire rising up. Then finally, the all that were sleeping and the waking, or the eyes being opened, that could be directly addressing the dormant denizens of the Black Empire. Or it could be a bit more metaphorical, that we are asleep, i.e. we're not conscious of what's going on, and that we will be awakened. Now, assuming those lines are actually relevant, there's almost certainly a twist to N'Zoth's defeat cinematic. It's very possible, I believe, that N'Zoth will win. That, in keeping with the name, Visions of N'Zoth, that the raid ending is merely a vision, one that will be shattered later on. Now, that would be very tricky to pull off in-game, but you could see something like that happening with Bolvar or Sylvanas' death resistance ending up saving us, and that would tie in to there being new data-mined Death Knight intro cinematics in this patch, and then also encrypted conversations between Darian and the Lich King. So yeah, there could be more to that Visions aspect. Now, that said, what I've discussed thus far in this video, that's only his Battle for Azeroth related planning. There's more going on here. So remember the Remnant of the Void that we accidentally planted in the Heart of the Dream during the Emerald Nightmare raid, right? The one that then bloomed in patch 8.2, but was not destroyed by players. Well, I mean, based on that location, and if you look at that area, there's a Titan Vault entrance there that goes into the heart of the Emerald Dream. Now, that void-like flower, Remnant of the Void's probably taken root in there, in that facility. Now, back in Legion, Xal'atath, when we went near it, said this: almost gone as if it never existed, but the rift is deep and vast, and somewhere down there it stirs. Something has changed, the last prison weakens, we must prepare. Now, is that N'Zoth's prison? I actually am not really sure if that prison was weakening. We needed to unleash the power of the Heart of Azeroth to shatter his bonds, after all. So I've got to wonder if there's a bit more to that line, and also if part of 8.3 is a deception. Now, there's also the line, almost gone as if it never existed, but the rift is deep and vast, and somewhere down there it stirs. Now, this part of what Xal'atath is saying is clearly not talking about the prison. It's clearly talking about the Rift of All, and confirming that we have not destroyed it. Now, here's a big speculation. So, if you look at that vault that Cenarius is standing near, if we're in the Heart of the Dream, what is underneath the Heart of the Dream in a Titan Vault? It's got to be something major. Maybe it's even part of the World Soul itself. What if N'Zoth N'Zoth has corrupted that. I mean, we've got that, golden surface masking shadows below line, and also note that maybe he has fully corrupted part of Azeroth. Maybe, look, if he's fully corrupted part of Azeroth, but then we destroy him using Azeroth, right? Magni says that Azeroth in our time of need lent us her power through the heart of Azeroth. Well, what if that is when the corruption in the heart of the Emerald Dream from Legion actually comes into play, and we basically do what we do in the 8.3 raid, completely forgetting what's going on, the corruption in the core of the Emerald Nightmare. That is another major thing that could happen. One thing is very much for sure though. That stuff that went down in the Emerald Nightmare, that has not been paid off yet in-game. And I think that's a pretty darn major piece of information. I mean, N'Zoth's whole plan with the Emerald Nightmare was to have us go in there, to spread the void down in there, and then to let us go deal with the Legion and waste our time. We've yet to see the payoff other than us putting down a few tentacles in patch 8.2. Indeed, when we go down there, we actually loot the bloomed remnant of the void, and we receive an item that's also called the Remnant of the Void, and the tooltip for that item says that drops of void linger on its petals. That plot has not came into play yet, but Blizzard clearly went to the effort of making that flower lootable, of calling back to it in patch 8.2. I mean, it would be surprising if 8.3 does not call back to that somehow. Neither this or the gift of N'Zoth have came into play in the storyline. Now, why is that? I'd say either Blizzard have just cut and run with BFA, they've dropped a heavy, content reuse patch to just last us the 9.0, and they've massively cut down the N'Zoth arc, and that those plot lines are just going to be abandoned. Either that, or N'Zoth's plan is still in motion. For if we just go down there and destroy him simply, then so much of what they've teased will have amounted to nothing. And if that's the case, then I will diplomatically say that it would not be a good use of the established material. So, today we've established that N'Zoth had his big initial plan regarding Xal'atath, Ashvane, and the player character, and what passing the test of the Crucible of Storms means. The full extent of the 8.3 stuff, though, that's yet to be seen. The PTR seems strange, but I think I've covered here how there are multiple ways in which N'Zoth still actually could be planning for us to go down there with Mother and co, with the King of Diamonds still being a pawn, with Magni, giving himself to the deep places, all of those things. So what will it be? Will Blizzard pull something absolutely wild in the transition between 8.3 and 9.0? Will we wake up to find us trapped in a dream, the world torn apart, with a new expansion rebuilding that world? Will Sylvanas or Bolvar snap us out of it using their death resistance? It's pretty darn hard to know, but it's just a case of this is one of our most built-up villains, one teased for nearly a decade. Is he really going to be destroyed through the use of MacGuffins? If so, pretty lame. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But for now, that is the plan of N'Zoth that we have seen fully explained, and then what we have not seen in patch 8.3 heavily speculated upon. I would love to know where you think this plotline will go. Thank you very much for watching this video, and with that, I will see you next time.